Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The Buffalo Bills blow out the defending champion Los Angeles Rams for NFL Kickoff 2022. It was impressive, to say the least. There was a moment of silence to start the game for the Queen, who died today. Queen Elizabeth, who was the Queen of England for 70 years. Since 1952. It is amazing how much has changed since she took the throne in 52, which was only 7 years after World War II. Who was the NFL champion when Queen Elizabeth got to her first fall or winter as queen? It was Bobby Lane and the Detroit Lions, who won the 1952 NFL championship, and they also won in 1953. The Lions. That's how long Queen Elizabeth was queen. Pretty crazy. Pretty impressive. What else was impressive? The Bills tonight. Josh Allen, Von Miller, Stephon Diggs. They embarrassed the Rams tonight, and it could have, maybe should have, been so much worse. But Isaiah McKenzie, greasy fingers, bobbled a ball that ended up being intercepted. Josh Allen and Jamison Crowder had some growing pains. So there's a few first half turnovers that kept it 10-10 at half. But Josh Allen, it may be weird to say for somebody who has almost 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, almost 60 rushing yards and a touchdown, but it was actually looked better than the stat line. Josh Allen, just the strength and the power and just the zip on the ball and just the Bills' decisions to just keep throwing, to keep, why stop if it's working? Was fabulous. So the Rams struggled. Cam Akers is the fantasy story. He picked up where he left off in the playoffs, basically. Completely inefficient, completely terrible. He was awful in the playoffs. And unlike January and February, Sean McVay had Darrell Henderson healthy in order to put Cam Akers on the bench where he maybe should have belonged for the playoffs. So they did that. They exercised that option, but people are freaking out. We'll see how Akers recovers. Remember that Achilles injury. No running back has ever come back from that in a good way. So jury is still out on Cam Akers. Von Miller, of course, big part of that Bills defense. Was Stafford looked okay to the eye. Things were a little sloppy. They were a little wimpy. We got some stat Padford at the end. Vintage Detroit Lion stat Padford. Throwing to Cooper Kupp, who's still looking good. But the Bills defense, maybe, with Von Miller, who watched the banner go up. That was nice that he was there for that. The banner he helped win last year. Watched it go up in a Bills uniform and then crush the Rams as a Bill. I think that defense was a big part of it. But we will have all of September and October to kind of suss out whether this was a bad sign for Matt Stafford or whether this was a really good sign for the Bills defense. And this is only really the second time that a Super Bowl champion has been blown out in a Thursday night kickoff like this. Because I was going back through it. So you may remember the Ravens got blown out by the Broncos, by the Peyton Manning, 7 touchdowns there. But actually that game was in Denver, not in Baltimore, because there were scheduling shenanigans with the Orioles. So the only other team to be blown out or to lose at all as a Super Bowl champion hosting the NFL kickoff game was the 2017 New England Patriots, who lost to the Alex Smith, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, first ever game, Chiefs. That was the Kareem Hunt big game, big fantasy game. I had him. That was fun. So the Rams joined that group. We'll see what happens. Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. This show is just football everything. NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of a season. Follow us at MUK_football on Twitter or YouTube. Subscribe, share, review on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts. We have shows Monday after Monday Night Football, Thursday after Thursday Night Football, Sunday after Sunday Night Football. And week 1 is upon us. And I'll each Thursday, after reviewing Thursday Night Football, pick 4 games for the upcoming week to pick the lines and explain why. But every game looks good right now. We haven't had NFL football since February. It all looks great. We literally got the 2 first overall picks in 2015, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. Now they're the keepers of that Saints-Falcons rivalry. We get an early look at the AFC West hype with the Chargers and the Raiders. We get our first real experiences of the Trey Lance 49ers and definitely the first of the Matt Ryan Colts. And we got these revenge games. We got Baker Mayfield on the Panthers playing the Browns. And we got Joe Flacco on the Jets playing the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. We got Mahomes and Kyler playing. But I have 4 other games. It's just a buffet of fun. Week 1 is always like Christmas Day. Patriots at Dolphins, Packers at Vikings, Buccaneers at Cowboys, and Broncos at Seahawks are the 4 games I'll choose here today to discuss. All right, let's start with the Patriots. Going down to Miami, going to Florida. I picked this one because it is the battle of 2 of the most major narratives this summer. Just the offseason in general. It's just a sexy offseason Dolphins with Mike McDaniel hired from Kyle Shanahan's basement with the speedsters, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Can Tua do it? There's just so much potential and intrigue here, especially with that speed versus just the ugly Joe Judge, Matt Patricia, double worm tongue in Bill Belichick's King of Rohan's ear. That's a Lord of the Rings reference. It's week 1, so it will be too early, even no matter what happens. But if the Dolphins thump the Patriots, it is going to be such a wave of confirmation bias because the sexy thing that we've been talking about this whole, 7 months will have beaten this ugly thing with this Joe Judge, Matt Patricia stuff. So I'm just really interested in that. And the Dolphins are favored by 3.5. I will take the Dolphins on this. I'll take the Dolphins and the points. They're going to beat the Patriots by more than a field goal. But not just because of the sexy McDaniel and speed stuff and ugly Matt Judge, Joe Patricia stuff. The Patriots often don't do very well going to Miami. They're 1-4 against Miami in Miami in the last 5 years. And that includes 3 Brady games there. So they haven't exactly succeeded when the Boston late summer leaves, when they have to travel down to humid Miami. They haven't exactly done great. Even with Brady. Post Brady, the Dolphins have won 3 in a row. They've won 3 in a row, the 2020-21 Patriots. So I'll take the Dolphins to do it. All right, next game. The Packers go to Minnesota and that wonderfully aesthetically pleasing television field that I love so much. I hope it's as good of a television product as Week 11 was last year when the Packers went to the Vikings. That was a top 5 game for me in that regular season. Aaron Rodgers had 385 yards, 4 touchdowns. It just took over the second half with Devontae Adams, and then Kirk Cousins was just leaning on Justin Jefferson, who had 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then it had the crazy ending. Rodgers, with like 2 minutes left, hit a 75-yard touchdown to Marquise Valdes-Scantling, and then Cousins got the ball back from that and drove them down for a last-second field goal, and Minnesota won. So I would love that type of game. I don't know that it can happen without Devontae Adams there, because that was really the Devontae Adams versus Justin Jefferson game. But I can only hope. The Packers are favored by 1.5 here, probably because Rodgers is the back-to-back MVP. But I will take the Vikings to pull the upset here. Not only cover the 1.5, but win the game. I think the Packers are favored because Aaron Rodgers back-to-back MVP. I get it, though I believe Brady was MVP last year pretty strongly. Rodgers, they had a week 1 dud last year, and I don't think it's unreasonable to think that there might be another one this year, just because there's nothing there. There are no weapons there. Rodgers doesn't trust any of these players, and a couple of them are rookies. And, meanwhile, the Vikings, I know they've got a new coach, and theoretically they also are trying to put stuff together. At least they have kind of the same personnel. They have Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, by the way, both healthy. I give the edge to the Vikings at home. So I picked the home team twice in a row here. Let's go to the next game. Tampa Bay at Dallas Cowboys, where God can watch through the sunroof, because a roof really hides things from God. That's just a design flaw, I guess, by God. Not quite the deity that Jerry Jones will ascend to be, presumably. I don't know. All right. Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay at Dallas. Another Tirico and Collinsworth game. Tom Brady going into Dallas. One of the big graphics, and I'm sure will show up, will be Brady has never lost to the Cowboys. He's played them 6 times, spending most of his career in the AFC, of course. He is 6-0. And I find that interesting. Did Tom Brady come out of retirement just to lose to the Cowboys? No, he didn't. So I'm going to take the Bucs to win and to cover the 2.5 points that this line is set at. Tom Brady grew up in the San Francisco area. He was a 49er fan in the 80s and 90s. And it is absolutely guaranteed that his most hated team during that time as a young man was the Dallas Cowboys. Tom Brady was actually at the 1981 AFC title game where Joe Montana threw the ball to Dwight Clark to beat Dallas. So is this a big deal for Brady? Yes, it is. No, I'm completely speculating and rambling off point. But I do think Dallas is just a weaker team. The 2022 Dallas Cowboys, they don't have the depth they had. 3 out of their 5 offensive linemen who started last year's Thursday night opener, they're either on other teams or injured, including Tyron Smith. They don't have Michael Gallup. Obviously, Amari Cooper's on the Browns. They're just weaker across the board. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers are actually healthy. And I don't think Brady's going to blow us away. I just think Dak is going to struggle, and the Buccaneers defense is going to play well. And Brady will go to 7-0 versus the Cowboys. It'll be his 3rd victory against Dak. Actually, I was looking back, did Brady just keep whooping Romo over and over again? No, Brady played Quincy Carter and Brandon Whedon for 2 of the games. Then he 2 against Romo, 1 blowout in 2007, and one 22-second game-winning touchdown in 2011. And then the two games against Dak, 1 last year with Tampa Bay. So Brady, 6-0 versus the Cowboys, makes it 7-0. Last game, Monday Night Football. Denver comes to my hometown, the Seattle Seahawks, with who was formerly my hometown quarterback, Russell Wilson. And talk about, keeping the high probability of a big reinforcement of a major off-season plot line with Miami and New England. That's even more so with the Denver Seahawks game, especially if Russell Wilson has a high number of passing attempts. So if he throws the ball a lot and wins, it's going to be this huge deal. And if he throws the ball a lot and loses, it's going to be this huge deal. It's kind of like Pete Carroll versus Russell Wilson, like philosophy sort of stuff. And it's all going to be, hyper compacted into week 1 coverage going into week 2. But as someone who has watched 10 years of Russell Wilson, 12 years of Pete Carroll, very closely, Seahawks fan here, this game's going to be low scoring. Bet the under, people. Bet the under. Now, Denver is massively favored by 6.5. That's the 3rd highest line of week 1. I think Ravens over Jets, Colts over Texans are favored by 7. But I'm going to go full homer here. I'm going to go full Seahawk goggles. The Seahawks not only cover the 6.5, they win. They win this game. Now, I'm partially doing this because it's fun. I'm not putting any actual money down, but also because I am mentally prepared for the inevitable, ugly 6, 7, 8 win season that we're going to get this year. You say we're tanking? I don't think so. I think Pete Carroll genuinely believes in Geno Smith, and this team is going to fight and claw towards working themselves out of a great quarterback next year in the draft. And Russell Wilson, I mean, just pressing. He's just joined with Nathaniel Hackett. They're the only new coach, new quarterback combo there is, and they're going to have to be the first, their first like real battle test together is in a stadium that's already hard to play in. Much less if you were the franchise quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks for 10 years. Remember, the defense is also going through change. Vic Fangio, their last head coach, he is gone. So I will take the Seahawks. All right, we'll be back Sunday after Sunday Night Football. My name is Miles. Mukilteo Football Show. Follow us on Twitter at MUK_football. And a good night.